I wanted to talk to you about Raul Rosas Jr. At 18 years of age, suffers his first career loss to Christian Rodriguez. I thought this was a good job by the matchmakers, giving Raul Rosas Jr. an appropriate test against a fellow prospect. I think the ceiling's pretty high on C-Rod here moving forward, but Sean O'Malley and others have now suggested that Raul Rosas Jr. take time off to develop. And we've seen other fighters do this in the past with varying degrees of success. But Raul Rosas Jr. is not going to be 19 until October. So if this was your pupil, I know you felt like it was a little silly that he was getting fast-tracked to begin with, but given what we saw Saturday night, like, what do you do with this 18-year-old now moving forward?
Yeah, I do think he's got to take a step back. Certainly has the time to do it, right? So why rush somebody? I mean, it's funny, John, because if he would have gotten that submission in the first round, we're having a completely different conversation. But I think it's a blessing in disguise because that was going to run out eventually. So why not have it happen now and try to fix some things? Because rounds 2 and 3, he looked like a kid. You know what I mean? He was even physically, like maturity wise, he looked like a 25-pounder to me. He's just getting ragdolled, and you could see, listen, to not have a gas tank at 19 years old is crazy. So, there's other things going on there, I think. But, I think up until this point, everything's been age appropriate. Like even the thing with Aljo, that was like total bullshit. I remember talking to Aljo, like, Aljo's a good guy. You come into the gym, you're rolling with him. Next thing you know, they're going hard. Aljo says, I look up, his father's filming it. Like, he's like, oh, is that what we're doing? Like, so I'm going to say it's immaturity. You know what I mean? And, you could see how bad that looks now.
Yeah. And
even his statements, right, going back to it. But I think give the kid a little chance to grow up, physically and mentally. I think that's what I saw. Even his corner. I think it's great to have your mom in the corner, but you're in the big leagues now, man. If she can't add something to that.
Oh, I agree.
He didn't get any. He didn't get any corner advice in that thing, right? What they say, you got to keep going, try to get to his neck. I mean, I forget what they were saying, but there was nothing there. So I think he's got to take this time now because it's going to be hard to match him up. They brought in a newcomer who that kid was squared away. He beat one of my guys on the local scene. He's very, very talented guy. But it definitely wasn't an overreach based on what they thought this kid's ceiling was. So, yeah, I think he's got to take a little time off. And I think he got humbled. Let's see how he handles that. Again, with John, when you're 18, 19, dealing with stuff that, you don't have like the defense mechanisms or you don't have the life experience to deal with. It's rough. So I think they got to be careful with him. But, he's definitely talented. But they're going to have to take a step back, I think, and, square away a couple of things in his game. He looked like the stand-up was non-existent. He's got a lot. He can improve a lot. Why rush it? You know what I mean? That's where I'm coming from.
There are probably 80 bantamweights on the roster right now. And unlike some of these other divisions, the number 79th ranked 135-pounder in the UFC, it stands to reason, is a real problem. So it's not as though, to your point, there are any easy outs in the UFC necessarily. But I agree with everything out of your mouth, especially when it comes to the immaturity. And I have said on these airwaves many times, at 27 years old, I could not get out of my own way. I could not pay my own rent. And that is 9 years later in my life than where he is at right now.
Yes.
But his first fighter meeting with us, Ray, I felt like he was humble. He was gracious. He was interpreting the English language to his parents. And then our second fighter meeting, still came in with a camera crew the first time, but second fighter meeting this past weekend, he comes in with this whole crew and says he's ready to challenge Aljamain Sterling and the best guys in the world right now. He referenced that video and it seemed like all the humility had evaporated. So now I think some of that will return. I think there will be a little bit of humble pie. It looked like he was actually talking to Merab Dvalishvili. I don't know if you saw the photo in Las Vegas after the fight at the UFC PI. So perhaps your guy Merab can talk some sense into him. But I do think by and large, some developmental time as opposed to getting back into a training camp and fighting in 3 or 4 months would be just what the doctor ordered. So
yeah, without a doubt. And I tell you, if there's a guy to talk to, because I've seen him do it. It's Marab, man. He's just, like I always told you, he's very practical and, humble and, comes from humble beginnings. And his advice is literally, John, always dead on. I'm sure that kid really appreciated whatever little time he spent with Marab.